The Seer 5 Peculiar Things That Happen When You Split Up with a Narcissist. This video is intended for people who are finding it difficult to move on after a narcissistic relationship and are struggling to acknowledge the facts. In order to help you navigate the post-breakup landscape with a narcissist, we have listed the 5 most likely obstacles for you to face. If you want to learn more about this episode, you should think about subscribing and clicking the bell button. But allow me to ask you a brief question before we get started. Where does the reality check seem the most daunting to you? Which realities are the most difficult to accept? By sharing your story in the comments, you can encourage other survivors to connect and support one another. The relationship's whole fabric came apart and revealed itself to be a false illusion. Yes, each and every thread was made up. Your whole being was entwined into the relationship. You didn't just provide your feelings. You demonstrated tremendous dedication, selflessness, and faith in the narcissist. You trusted them despite their flaws, thinking they were the long-awaited messiah. But the harsh reality turned out to be otherwise. You suffered a moral hurt. Your mind carried the wounds from abuse, trickery, trauma, desertion, low self-esteem, and mockery. These were the regrettable results. When you come to terms with the reality of every experience, good or bad, and stories of people falling in love, you have to admit that the person who first won your heart was a fabrication of your imagination, a false dream that never really happened. Should you consider the possibility that it was all a complex fiction, you are essentially facing the truth that their transformation into a monstrous character during the relationship is a reflection of who they really are. This unexpected realization could set off a freeze response that prevents reasonable reasoning from happening. It's like trying to understand how incomprehensible it is to see someone get stabbed in the face. You may be attacked by doubts about the accuracy of your impressions or whether someone is stinging you. It seems completely incomprehensible that someone could harbor such amounts of violence and dishonesty. This is especially true if you have experienced trauma, abuse, narcissistic gaslighting, or other intolerable mistreatment. When the sudden truth hits you in the face, you can't even begin to fathom how such evil could exist. 2. The happy times you treasured were only an act of emotional manipulation. Accepting the unpleasant reality that the narcissist made up the happy times you two shared is made difficult by your cognitive dissonance. How is that possible? A clash of emotions arises. The narcissist caused a rift in your mind by being the source of your self-doubt and uneasiness at times of compassion. Making the distinction between real and fake experiences gets difficult. Realizing that even the good memories were lies, carefully crafted to keep you attached to the partnership, is a big step forward. It requires you to give up a significant amount of your life. Releasing yourself into the hope of happy memories is a better option. But accepting that they were a complex fabrication means saying goodbye to the possibility of looking back with pleasure and satisfaction. It's like admitting the whole picture of your history was covered in gloom and emptiness. Admitting that the happy times were only illusions is equivalent to making the hard admission that you were tricked, taken advantage of, and controlled by someone you had previously trusted. This is why it can be difficult to break through the illusion of those ostensibly happy times. The narcissist expertly created the illusion of a dream, just to reveal the terrible truth behind. They start the relationship with lofty promises, much like their narcissistic counterparts, drawing you into an enticing picture of a desirable future. They establish a trance in which the boundaries between truth and delusion are blurred, all while posing as the perfect future. The impact can be devastating as the curtain rises and you are faced with the gaps in the anticipated future. The promises of connection, love, and financial stability turned out to be hollow promises that left you in a world full with pain and adversity. The sole goal of the narcissistic tactic of luring you in with empty promises and exaggerated expectations was to satisfy their needs at your expense. 4. The narcissist's denial of privacy is the subject. It is well known that narcissists deprive the people they hurt of the right to privacy. Enclosure leaves a trail of unanswered questions in their wake rather of providing closure for their victims. This keeps victims in a circle of doubt and confusion and prevents them from moving forward. The narcissist's inability to bring the relationship where the other person closure highlights how little they care. It is critical to understand that closure must come from within and be based on individual experience. You can't expect that from a narcissist. Understanding what is happening and going within one's feelings are necessary to find the closure and serenity that are needed to move forward. It is important to acknowledge the presence of narcissistic behavior in the world and to educate oneself about narcissistic personality disorder. The key to emancipation and healing is realizing the circumstances as they are. 5. You were used as a resource by narcissists. Realizing that you have been used and abused by a narcissist can be a very powerful discovery. It could make you feel less confident, esteemable, and valuable. It is crucial to realize that you are not the one who is to blame for this exploitation, though. Not because of any inborn weakness in you, the narcissist gaslighted, twisted, and perverted the truth to use you. You were in a fight or flight or paralysis mode at that turbulent time as a coping technique for the relationship. By crippling your nervous system and preventing access to the part of your brain responsible for reasoning, the narcissist took advantage of you even more. This could make you feel bad and wonder why you permitted this kind of abuse. But it's important to realize that you were not in complete control of the circumstance. Feelings of uneasiness may lead to inquiries like, how could I have allowed that? Or why did I let that happen? When you reclaim agency. However, you must understand that you are not the cause of the abuse, and that you have no accountability for it. Although it requires reflection and time, admitting that you were treated like an object is a crucial step in the healing and forward motion processes. The narcissist drained your pool of resources by manipulating you in a complex dance. It can be difficult to face the unpleasant truth that your confidence, self-worth, and self-respect were compromised. As soon as your usefulness decreased, you were thrown away, treated like a disposable item. This disclosure is significant because it raises questions about deception and exploitation. However, it's critical to realize that you are not the one carrying the guilt and regret. The narcissist used abuse and gaslighting as techniques to take control of and take advantage of you, putting you in a state of fight, flight, or freeze where it was difficult to access the sensible parts of your mind. Gaining perspective after leaving the toxic relationship behind may cause you to question, how could I have allowed this? Or why couldn't I break free? It's important to be kind to oneself and acknowledge that the situation was far more complicated than it appears in retrospect. It is essential to take up healing activities, embrace your own self, and set out on a path of self-compassion. Recognize that you were acting in accordance with your perception of what was correct at the time, even though you were not in control of the circumstance. Accepting these realities is a crucial first step toward escaping the manipulative web of the narcissist. I will now wrap up today's video. Let's continue the healing process till our paths intersect again.